I know that I've spoken to a few of you before, and we had a kind of brief chat about what we wanted to do with this session, but I think mainly it's to give the audience an insight into what is happening with media owners, what is happening here, and how are they moving forward. Who would like to? Mazen, we had some words yesterday. Would you like to kick that off?
Thank you. If you allow me to start to tell Hussein, I've heard him talking about 8.5 million users of Snapchat per day in Saudi. That's humongous. But I want to tell him that I have a love and hate relationship with Snapchat, not because of me being with NBC, but because of me having teenage children. Every single experience for the last year, dinner or lunch or what have you, has been shared with their friends on Snapchat. So this tells you a bit what's happening in our region. Having said that, TV remains the dominant source of entertainment, of news, of sports, of talk shows, of game shows. And NBC leads the pack on that front. But NBC has changed a lot during the last couple of years. I've been with NBC for nearly 11 years now. And we were on constant evolution to make sure that we don't act anymore as a TV company, but rather as a multi-platform, multi-touchpoint company. And that meant huge investment in technology, in digital, in social, and in video on demand, and obviously in premium content. At the end of the day, premium content remains king. So this is what we do. As long as you're relevant, you're culturally relevant, you know what the audience wants, you can crack the formula. And that's the reason of success of NBC. Culturally relevant, premium content delivered across multi-platforms, multi-touchpoints, and monetized with the highest investment and return on investment for advertisers.
And Tracy, this is something that Viacom has certainly been doing in terms of multi-platform content around the world. I suppose you guys are also teaming up with various partnerships. I know you've teamed up with Snapchat in various guises. Is that something that, as well as kind of creating premium content, a partnership's a big way forward of ensuring that you guys stay relevant and the content is relevant?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, you're right, is that there is a rapid evolution of how content is being consumed, and any kind of media owner or broadcaster needs to understand that they need to kind of follow that pathway to be able to deliver content in multiple ways, whether it is through digital media, traditional linear. I mean, that is obviously our core business. But I think that our affiliate OSN that we deliver our linear channels to, we also have, OTT, SVOD only services. We have localized digital media platforms. We have our own apps that carry our content. So I think it's really important to kind of look at the wider evolution of how consumption is happening. And also kind of, with a trusted brand and with the content, as you say, content is great and brand is very important as well, to kind of position that to affiliates or to partners in multiple ways, not just in kind of core business.
And actually, trust is an interesting word. I know I've discussed that with a few of you. Is like, how do you, I suppose, if you like, keep that editorial integrity, yet at the same time produce content that has a commercial edge to it, because that's the reality of kind of creating business. I know, Simon, we briefly talked about this yesterday, but how do you kind of achieve that right balance?
Well, I don't actually see a conflict in it. We might be one of the new kids on the block, and that's why you sort of got us on stage, but in terms of our revenue model, it's pretty old-fashioned. The idea was to invest in high-quality journalism and produce exceptional content that attracts an audience into an environment that we then say to advertisers, look, there's this audience in this positive environment. Would you like to buy some advertising? I mean, it's not new. How you maintain integrity is to make sure that there is, transparency has been one of the words of the day, is that you're completely transparent about what is editorial and what is paid for space. And so we label. And people like that. People do not mind content from brands as long as it's relevant to the experience they're having, and it's clearly labeled as such. Don't try and, this is the most sophisticated media generation there's ever been. Don't try and fool them, because they will not forgive you.
And Richard and Matthew, are you in the kind of same boat where you guys are now?
Yeah, just to add to that, I think the Lovin Dubai platform made choices. At the start, we decided to be online only, and it's a hyper-local approach, so Once you do that, then you make revenue choices as well. And I think, you know, to echo the point about trust, even though there isn't really the Advertising Standard Authority set up in the region, we feel as if it's in our interest to protect that space for the future. So we insist that everything is label sponsored. But going back to the native engagement on Snapchat or any mobile platform, native is a great way to cut through the noise, to have that thumb-stopping moment. And all Lovin Dubai's articles are the ones that are sponsored, which is about 5 or 10%. They've all tried to have that native part. It's easier working with brands and content teams and agencies who've done that in other markets, so worked with BuzzFeed, et cetera. It's hard to turn a press release or an F&B outlet or a PR into something native and digestible. So whereas the publisher might try to gauge the trust, it's often difficult to have the clients to educate what works with the consumers and what they like consuming on social media.
And is that the same for you, Matthew? Is
Yeah,
that something you find? Or?
Yeah, very similar picture. I think we treat it as the acid test is, would it pass the normal editorial guidelines, rules, decision making as a piece of content would? So is it informative? Is it engaging? Is it entertaining, actually? I think sometimes we forget that people actually like to read or like to consume engaging, informative, entertaining content. So that's the rule we go to first. And if the content we produce passes that test, then the association with the brand comes further down the line.
And kind of, we touched on native branded content. What's the flavour and the level of where we are in this region with regard to branded content? How are brands, how are agencies adapting to it? What's the kind of level of where we're at, would you say?
Yeah, I think going back to your first question, what are publishers doing, or what are media channels doing that's different? They're trying lots of things. We see influencer departments being set up. We see content departments being set up. So I think there's huge, especially on the stage here today, there's a lot of innovation taking place. How receptive the market is, many challenges. So whether clients want to invest in it, how do we measure it, how do we price it, those sort of things. We've been going 18 months. We've got 2.5 million page views, 4 million video views a month on social media, and we basically monetize by views. So we will say, if you pay for this article, we will guarantee you X number of people. So 3,000 people are going to spend 3 minutes reading the article, and that's our one metric. So, but there is an education play. It's conferences like this. We need to have content workshops. It's much easier for digital planners to put a CPM line item on an Excel sheet than it is to become a project manager and to go through that painful process of creating a piece of branded content. So there's challenges all around.
If I may add, brand integration is established very well, as you know, content marketing as well. The big question is that we're having to produce original content for every platform. So the era of producing for TV and adapting for other platforms is not applicable anymore. So the big question is whether advertisers are willing to pay you that extra dollar GRP for the extra eyeballs and for extra investment. So if I produce a series for TV, will they be willing to invest more with you on an original production for social and another original production for mobile and a third original production for video on demand? Or we would still pay you for TV and expect you to deliver all of the above adapted on other platforms for free? This is the real challenge for us in terms of monetization.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that is that we, at Viacom and particularly on Comedy Central, we produce locally here for the territory, but we also have the kind of power behind of an international kind of market that we can draw lessons learned from. So we are very well focused on delivering separate content for our digital media platforms, for our SVOD or OTT platforms as well as the linear, and not ones that can be rolled out across all of those, a one-size-fits-all. I think it's really important to understand that, you need to develop long form and short form. You need to engage viewers, whether it's through your digital media. We have localized digital media platforms, that's how you draw people in and gain that engagement. So I think that, yeah, it's absolutely true, is that content development and content rollout is not just about what's on the TV, it's across multi-platform, and we need to be smart in how we're producing that content for those various methods, which is something that we're doing here locally.
I think that must open the door as well to more creativity. It gives agencies an opportunity, more platforms, more types of content to develop across. And I suppose that comes with it. It comes with, to your point, Mazem, it comes with new teams and new talent that you must need. So obviously you need to invest in that talent, but equally at the same time you need to create those revenue streams. How do you go about that, and how do you source the right talent when you're up against the likes of Hussein and people, the sexy shiny Snapchat or a Facebook or an Instagram? How do you kind of keep your talent, retain your talent, and kind of find the right talent?
Can I go all the way back to Will's compass and radar? And,
Yeah,
and I think it's about if you're able to set out what your vision is and what it is your company is there to do and why it matters, then you can start to identify the people in exactly the same places that other people are looking for the same sorts of talent that want to be part of that mission. And that's incumbent on you. I mean, you should be pretty clear on what your vision is anyway, and if you can't articulate it in a sentence, you've got a problem. But in terms of going out and finding the talent, finding developers, finding designers, finding data analysts and so forth, we're all now looking for the same people in the same jobs in the same positions to make this type of content. So it is fierce, the competition. You do need to be more creative about where you're looking for things, but having an articulate, clear, exciting vision for the next, 3 to 5 years was also something Will said, and I think that might almost be ambitious. That's absolutely critical in recruitment.
I think from a more, if we're more of a traditional media owner, to take your term, which I'm going to try and avoid, so I'll use it once and I won't use it again. One of the challenges for us has been that it's about the education piece internally as well. So our journalists typically come from a normal journalistic background, so they've got to evolve their thinking, and we've got to take them on the direction as well, so that they move from journalists to content creators, and they think about content creation across platform, whether it's a Facebook Live if they're out and there's the blackout on Dubai Mall, or whether it's something they're posting on social. Even at that level, they've got to think about different ways of delivering that content to different audiences. So I think despite, we hold our journalistic integrity, the heritage of the newspaper, trusted source of news, and all those sorts of things in high regard, but how do you take that heritage and that trust, but then extend that across the journalists into content creators and across the different channels which they're then going to publish onto?
That is the question. How do you make that happen?
And I think it's just about helping them understand metrics as well. Journalists typically, historically aren't always as metric focused as, say, marketeers or brand owners and so on and so forth.